everybody. I am working on kicking off our unit on taxes. So if you want to follow along in your textbook, we are in chapter 6, paying taxes, and we are going to be just doing this in chunks a little bit every day. So for the first part, we're just going to kind of get into some words, some verbiage, and then kind of get into a little bit of the concept of taxation. So first thing that you may or may not remember is some of the words for your earnings. So we know gross pay. Gross would be grossly inaccurate to budget off of. That probably rings a bell. But the reason is this is your earnings, so salary or your hourly, but without taxes taken out. So this is the massive amount of money that you are offered at the start of a job, but we know that that's not what we're going to keep. So we know gross pay. And then the words that we usually work off of are take-home pay or net pay. They are used interchangeably. So this is what we were budgeting off of. This is the after taxes amount. One of the things that you're going to learn in this unit is that we actually were not really using an accurate budgeting amount because we weren't doing something called adjusting our gross income. So in this chapter, we're going to learn that, most people don't actually pay as much as you thought we were going to pay because we have tax write-offs. So maybe you've heard about that. So we're going to learn what exactly an AGI is. But for right now, the take-home pay is after our personal taxes are taken out of our paycheck. So that's done before we even get our paycheck put into our hands. So this is our take-home pay. And then when I say taxes, I kind of want you to get a sense of how you feel about taxes. Do you feel angry about them? Are you thinking that they're a good thing? Are you thinking that it's a necessary evil? I've heard that before. So when we think about that, I'm going to have you do an exercise today about what exactly our taxes are paying for and what it's covering, and then we're going to kind of like do a dream sequence on like what would it be like if we didn't pay taxes. So hopefully you'll enjoy that little assignment. It'll give you a sense of what exactly the government is using our tax money for. But that's coming after this little slideshow. So what is a tax? It's money that they take from the citizens and they use it to operate the government. That changes year by year, so just be aware of that everything we're teaching right now, it has definitely been changed and it probably will change in the future. What does the government tax? Well, if they can name it, they will tax it. Income, property, businesses, goods, death tax, moving tax. When you move out of the state, they may tax you. Inheritance taxes. There's so many things that they can tax. So the name of the game is to tax shelter our money. That's what you do. You want to keep the money in your pocket as much as possible, knowing that we do have to pay our fair share of taxes, but fair share of taxes is definitely arguable. So moving on. What do they pay for? We're going to skip that because that's what you're researching. Don't pause it. Don't look back. You're going to research because it's more than my list. My list was in no way exhaustive. So what makes our country so great? Why do you like to live here? Why do people come here from all over the world? Why is this a pretty good place to live? Why is our GDP rising right now? Why is the government running it pretty well? Not perfect, guys. There's not a perfect country, but we're doing pretty well. So how do we feel about it? What are the things in place, the systems and structures in the government in place that our tax dollars pay for? And how do you feel about the way that they're choosing to allocate our tax money? For instance, right now it's March 2020 and we're in national emergency and state of emergencies. Well, who's going to pay for all of that? We do. We pay for all of this out of our tax dollars. So this is all money that's going to fund people who are in crisis right now through the coronavirus, and there's going to be extensive cost to this. So we're going to kind of see how all this plays out. Sales tax. Let's talk sales tax. This is what we spend when we buy stuff. In our country, every state has a different sales tax. So in New Jersey, maybe you know it. You can like yell it out in your head. Anybody? 6.6-ish % is our cost right now on goods. But some people, maybe you're from one of these towns, But some people go to specific towns and cities to buy items, especially large items, because there is a discounted sales tax. So if I was going to be spending, let's say, 100,000 plus on materials to build a house, if I could save 3% sales tax, I'm going to drive a few towns over and buy my supplies from a cheaper town. Why would the country do this? Why would the state do this and let certain areas drop their sales tax? So, like with you just kind of thinking about it, hopefully you're going to get to the point where it's because they want to encourage us to shop. So how do they encourage us? Well, everybody likes a discount. Everybody wants a deal. So Patterson, over the past few years, has been one of these towns that's really local. Elizabeth, Jersey City, they have dropped sales taxes to about 3.3. It's pretty much half, and it changes a little bit year by year. But what it does is it encourages people to come to an otherwise depressed economic area to spend their money. This increases consumerism, it increases commercialism, it provides jobs, and really, really can lift people completely out of poverty. If you think about it, it's really powerful. So the towns who have been using this, they are seeing an increase. And if you kind of think maybe like you go down Route 20 and you've seen all those businesses built up, you've got like Home Depot and Lowe's right across the street from each other. You've got that Mama Juana and the McDonald's and Hacienda, they just like knocked it down and doubled or tripled the size of it. That little it's so good, that little Mexican restaurant. But all these places are doing really well, and the fundamental purpose behind that tax was to bring in consumers, and it's working. So super, super powerful tool that the government will use our tax dollars for, but also play around with the sales tax. So it's kind of interesting how they do that. What you're seeing is they're encouraging a behavior. The government will encourage behaviors and discourage behaviors by giving us a break or increasing the cost. So I just gave you one where they cut the sales tax to encourage a behavior. Can you think of one where they might discourage a behavior and therefore increase the sales tax? Maybe you thought about alcohol, sugared drinks, cigarettes. Those are all things that the government has toyed around with increasing sales tax on to discourage consumerism. Kind of interesting. Real estate tax, now this is based on the value of the property, so we've talked about this before in our budgeting unit, but not every house in every location will have the same taxation. If you took your house and stuck it right in the middle of downtown Manhattan, those taxes would possibly not even be affordable to you. So when you think about all the property that New Jersey might have and the size of our homes, and then you relocate it into a really, really tight, packed area, the taxes will go through the roof. Similarly, if we take that really expensive, highly taxed, tiny little Manhattan apartment and stuck it in New Jersey, maybe put it in, I don't know, where do you live? North Haledon. We'll put it in North Haledon. The taxes will be so cheap because it's this tiny little non-desirable apartment. So it has to do with how much do people value the property? How much are they willing to pay to be there, to live there? And if they're really willing, if there's great transportation, if there's fantastic school systems, if it's a fantastically safe community, they're willing to pay more money. Therefore, the state will tax that area higher. So, if you kind of look at my bullets, it has to do with the value of the property in the eyes of the people who are willing to pay for it. They're going to send you bills. You can pay this tax bill once a year. You can pay it quarterly. A lot of people embed it into their mortgage, which kind of confuses you when you're talking to people about how much they pay for their mortgage. They may not even realize that they're also paying their taxes in their mortgage bill. So a lot of people, if they're paying over $10,000 in taxes, like they might pay almost $1,000 a month with their mortgage to pay that down. So you get to choose how you're going to set that up when you buy a house. The big thing that our money in this area pays for, it's obviously going to pay for a lot of things, which you're going to be researching, but the big heavy hitter is schools. So when you look at a very heavily taxed town, oftentimes they have a very strong school system or a lot of children in the school system. It's just massive. Like Patterson taxes are quite high, but there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids in those systems. So you really have to look state to state. Remember, everybody's paying for education, so where's the money coming from? Why would a state like Florida that has zero personal income taxes be able to afford that? Well, their schools are not as strong, and they're often regional schools, so they've cut costs by shipping kids in from all different areas, consolidating their resources to save some money. In our area, we have a lot of strong school systems in every single town. And it's quite an expensive setup, but there's also a lot of perks to it. We have one of the strongest education systems in the country. So, you can always move if you don't like it. There's lots of options in our country. And last but not least, this is just what comes out of our paycheck. There's federal and state. Both of them can come out. We've already covered that the federal is paid in a bracket system. And the state is state by state. There's different percentages, and it sometimes changes depending on how much you've made, similar to a bracket system. So you're already kind of schooled in that. I'm not so worried about it, but just know that once you set your payroll taxes, your boss is going to take it out of your paycheck. You don't have to do the math every day. This is not complicated. They're going to set it all up. And really, when you decide how much you're going to pay, it's the first day you go to work. Do you know the name of the form you fill out day one of taking a job? It's a letter and a number. Do you remember it? A W-4. Are you excited? Did you get it right? A W-4. You're going to tell your boss how much to take out of your paycheck, depending on how many dependents you want, all that kind of stuff. And then for the rest of the year, they're going to take that money out of your paycheck. We're going to get into what if it's wrong, what if we guess wrong, all that kind of stuff in a later talk. But that's enough for today. I hope that you're going to enjoy the project you've got today, and let me know if you have any questions. Just shoot me an email. Thanks, everybody.